When humanity first established its communities, life was sustained by the barter system, the most natural way to satisfy needs. Yet the nature of barter posed a serious and persistent problem, which was the double coincidence of wants. That is, a shoemaker had to find someone who both desperately wanted shoes and had apples to trade, simultaneously and at the same location, leading to massive inefficiencies and stifled specialization, which is why communities, over time, due to this logistical challenge, were driven to use commodity monies that everyone would naturally accept, were inherently useful, were divisible, portable, and crucially, retained their value over short periods. Chief among these commodity monies were barley and other grains in ancient Mesopotamia, used as the first units of account and medium of exchange, meticulously recorded on clay tablets using early forms of writing, while in Africa, salt blocks, often called white gold, served as a crucial medium, especially in desert trade routes, being vital for preservation and human diet. The root of the Latin word salarium, meaning salary, or salt money, is a powerful reminder of this. And across the Pacific and Indian Oceans, cowrie shells, specifically Cypria moneta shells, due to their durability, uniformity, and limited supply in certain regions, circulated widely as a recognized currency, often imported over vast distances. These commodity monies were the foundational steps in fulfilling money's three basic functions: store of value, medium of exchange, and unit of account. But these forms were inherently limited and imperfect, as grains could spoil or be eaten by pests, salt could dissolve, and shell supply could be disrupted. And this state of affairs drove the relentless search for greater economic stability and reliability towards something more permanent, intrinsically rare, and universally desired: precious metals. It did not take long for precious metals, especially gold and silver, to gain universal acceptance due to their physical attributes, their non-corrosive nature, their divisibility without loss of value, and their distinctive luster. But trading with pure pieces of metal, such as rings or ingots, was still an inefficient and risky process, requiring painstaking and often complex procedures of weighing and purity testing. Assaying. Every single time a major transaction occurred, it is at this precise and crucial juncture, around 650 BCE, that the kingdom of Lydia in western Anatolia, particularly under King Aliats and later Croesus, entered the stage and solved this problem by inventing history's first standardized, officially stamped metal coins, initially made from electrum, a naturally occurring but variable alloy of gold and silver found in the Pactolus River. The indelible royal seal struck onto these small, durable metal pieces, known as staters, provided a state-backed guarantee of their exact weight and verified purity, instantly eliminating the need for constant weighing and testing, thereby dramatically accelerating the speed and trustworthiness of commerce and ushering in a truly new era of reliable, fluid, and trust-based economics. Lydia's revolutionary invention quickly diffused across the Aegean and Mediterranean, becoming the essential foundation for the massive trade networks of the Hellenistic world, most notably under the Greek city-states and, subsequently, the Roman Empire, whose denarius became the standard currency of the Western world for centuries, and, crucially, the minting of coins rapidly evolved into the clearest and most potent symbol of a state's political sovereignty and economic power, so much so that these state-issued coins, bearing the carefully crafted portraits of emperors or mythological figures, served not only as practical economic tools, but also as crucial instruments of political propaganda, cultural dissemination, and a means to pay vast standing armies. During the medieval period and beyond, as global trade expanded exponentially, the physical transportation of vast quantities of heavy metals became an increasingly major and risky logistical problem, making it prone to theft and taxing on infrastructure. And the continued growth in long-distance commerce demanded lighter, safer, and more practical accounting and settlement solutions, and this ultimate solution, surprisingly, first emerged in the intangible form of paper money in 9th century China during the sophisticated Tang dynasty. Instead of forcing merchants to carry physically heavy metal coins, like the ubiquitous copper cash coins, over the vast distances of the Silk Road, Chinese merchants began depositing their valuable metal assets with trustworthy financiers or government agencies and received lightweight, temporary receipts called flying money, fiat, which could be redeemed for metal coins at a distant location, effectively serving as the world's first promissory notes. These receipts later evolved into the first genuine, officially government-issued banknotes during the economically dynamic Song dynasty, 11th century, circulated initially to manage the massive supply of copper required for their enormous economy. But these early paper monies, lacking a consistent system of central reserve management, frequently faced severe problems with governmental abuse through uncontrolled printing, leading to devastating cycles of hyperinflation and subsequent loss of public confidence and value. The Western world, in contrast, was introduced to paper money much later, largely in the 17th century, following the Dutch and English financial innovations, with Stockholm's Banco in Sweden issuing the first proper European banknotes in 1661. Although this early attempt failed due to overissuance, the true, enduring widespread adoption and acceptance of paper money in Europe would only become historically possible with the establishment of strong central banks, like the Bank of England, and the eventual institutionalization of the gold standard supporting it. By the latter half of the 19th century, in a move towards international economic harmonization, most major industrial nations formally adopted the classical gold standard, which provided a strict mechanism to directly and legally peg the value of their national paper currency to a precise, specified weight of gold, e.g., $1 equaled a fixed fraction of an ounce of gold. This universally accepted system provided remarkable stability and certainty in international trade and currency exchange rates, lending money a necessary global credibility, as theoretically every banknote held by the public could, upon presentation to the central bank, be exchanged for a tangible, physically fixed amount of gold. However, the immense financial and material demands of World Wars I and II eventually proved overwhelming, forcing nations to suspend the convertibility to gold and print fiat currency on a massive scale to cover extraordinary war expenditures. And thus the rigid gold standard inevitably collapsed under this unsustainable inflationary pressure. In 1944, as the war neared its end, the Allied powers convened and established a new, post-war monetary order with the Bretton Woods Agreement. Under this compromise system, the U.S. dollar was given a privileged position, being the only currency officially pegged directly to gold. $35 equals 1 ounce of gold, while all other participating national currencies were then pegged to the U.S. dollar, effectively cementing the U.S. dollar as the world's dominant reserve currency. Yet, this modified system of fixed exchange rates also ultimately came to an abrupt end in 1971, when U.S. President Richard Nixon, facing inflation and increasing foreign demands for gold redemption, unilaterally terminated the convertibility of the dollar to gold, an event famously dubbed the Nixon shock. This singular event was arguably the most defining turning point for modern global money, as from that pivotal moment on, the world's currencies fully transitioned away from being supported by any precious metal, becoming purely fiat money, money declared legal tender by government decree, relying entirely and solely on the collective credibility, stability, and future taxing power of governments and their central banks. The late 20th and early 21st centuries irrevocably saw the global financial system enter the accelerating age of digitalization. The widespread adoption of credit cards, electronic wire transfers like SWIFT, and later internet banking drastically reduced the public's daily reliance on physical cash, effectively turning the majority of the world's money supply into transient, intangible bits and bytes of information residing on bank ledgers and computer screens. And the final, perhaps most disruptive and radical, step in this digital evolution was taken with the conceptual and practical emergence of Bitcoin in 2009. Introduced by the pseudonymous Satoshi Nakamoto, cryptocurrencies proposed an entirely novel paradigm: money that could operate wholly outside of any traditional state or central bank control. Based on the blockchain technology, a decentralized, transparent, and immutable ledger system, meaning that unlike the fiat system, the crucial element of trust relies not on a fallible central authority, but on verified mathematical protocols, cryptography, and distributed network consensus. Bitcoin and its thousands of followers have forced global regulators and economists to ask profound and fundamental questions about the future sovereignty and nature of money. Should money remain exclusively within the centralized jurisdiction of a nation-state, or should it be allowed to circulate freely, globally, and permissionlessly across digital borders? This sudden technological revolution has also spurred traditional central banks into defensive and modernizing action, and today, virtually every major country is actively researching and exploring the complex design, implementation, and geopolitical risks of issuing their own central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, to modernize their payment systems, increase financial efficiency, and offer a sovereign answer to the challenge posed by decentralized crypto assets. Consequently, the history of money is an unbroken, fascinating, and accelerating narrative of continuous abstraction, from a tangible material commodity, ARPA gold, to an increasingly abstract concept, paper, fiat, ephemeral digital bits, and the continuous repositioning of where we collectively decide to place our ultimate trust. In summary, money remains a powerful reflection of humanity's unparalleled ability to reach and maintain a common, scalable agreement, and its enduring success is fundamentally tied to our skill in establishing and maintaining trust. Whether it is a rare Lydian coin, a Ming Dynasty paper note, or a minuscule digital balance displayed on a smartphone application, its core function remains eternally the same: to efficiently facilitate our ever-expanding collective economic activity. But the exact form of money and the geopolitical power that underpins it are in a state of rapid and constant evolution. And today, with the seismic rise of both Bitcoin and sovereign CBDCs, we are potentially standing at the threshold of the most significant monetary transformation in its entire recorded history. So the next time you glance at the paper banknote in your wallet or the virtual figures on your banking app, take a moment to remember that it represents a profound, 2,600-year-old legacy of trade, collective trust, and relentless human innovation.